They demanded $900 a week while ignoring my grieving daughter's birthday, so I finally cut them off. Hi, I'm Nick, 36, and the last time my daughter asked, "Is Grandpa coming?" I had to lie again. Her name's Milla. She just turned 6. First birthday since her mom passed. I'd been planning her party like my life depended on it, because in a way, it did. Megan, my wife, Milla's mom, died 8 months ago. Fast cancer. The kind where the diagnosis feels like a thunderclap, and the funeral comes before the echo fades. I run a little bistro downtown. Long hours, lots of burns, but it's mine. It kept food on the table and paid the bills, including my parents. Yeah, my folks, Janice and Ron, who live in a too-big house and say we can't possibly downsize, like it's a moral stance. I'd been sending them $650 every week for years. Not because I wanted to, but because they made it feel like being a good son meant being their ATM with a pulse. Anyway, Milla's birthday was coming, and she wanted a Sparkle Forest unicorn tea party. That girl doesn't have to do anything. I went all in. Custom cake with edible glitter, pink balloons, paper crowns, little goodie bags with tiny unicorn figurines. I even borrowed floral archways from the restaurant's wedding inventory to make it feel magical. 2 weeks before, I called my parents. Gave them the party time. "She's so excited to see you," I said. My mom replied with that airy fake nice voice she uses when she's scrolling Facebook while pretending to listen. "Of course, sweetie. We wouldn't miss it." My dad, barely off speakerphone, mumbled, "Yeah, put us down." No follow-up. No "how's Milla holding up?" Just transactional politeness, like I was inviting them to a timeshare presentation. Still, every day, when Milla asked, I said yes. Grandpa's coming. Because you don't kill a 6-year-old's hope unless you have to. The morning of the party, Milla bounced out of bed like it was Christmas and Disneyland wrapped into one. "Daddy, is today the Sparkle Forest?" Her curls were wild, her smile even wilder. She wore the dress Megan picked out before the hospital stays started, soft lilac with glitter on the sleeves. She looked like a tiny superhero in tulle. We were lighting the candles, 6 little pink ones on the unicorn cake, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Dad. "Your daughter's birthday? We're not coming. Have brunch plans with important friends." Important was in all caps. I stared at the screen. My hand shook so hard the knife tapped the plate. Milla, standing on a chair, glanced over and beamed. "Grandpa's coming soon, right?" My mouth was dry. "We'll put out a plate for him," I said. I sent my parents one thing. A photo of Milla in her dress, crown slightly crooked, holding a handmade card that said, "I love you, Grandpa." Then I added the words, "Last time you break her heart." And I meant it. The party went on. Sort of. Nora, my best friend since college and Milla's honorary aunt, showed up with armfuls of balloons and enough energy to fill the room. She caught one look at my face and said quietly, "They bailed, didn't they?" I just nodded. She didn't ask anything else. Just kicked into high gear like a pro, streamers, snacks, making jokes with the kids. She even convinced one of my line cooks to show up in a unicorn onesie. But kids know. They always know. At 2:10, Milla tiptoed to the window and whispered, "Maybe Grandpa's stuck in traffic." At 2:30, she asked, "Did they forget where we live?" By 2:45, she stopped asking and sat cross-legged on the rug, the crown slipping sideways on her head, pulling the ribbon off a party favor like it had betrayed her. I wanted to scream, but I smiled and handed out cupcakes. After the candles and presents and hugs and "thank you for coming" speeches to teddy bears, Milla curled up on the couch and asked, "Do you think Grandpa liked my card?" I choked on my own breath for a second. "I'm sure he will," I said. That night, after everyone left and the last streamer drooped, I stared at my phone. No call, no text, nothing but a Facebook photo. It was my parents, at a table of smiling strangers, holding mimosas like trophies. Caption, "Brunch with the best people." Feeling so blessed. The rage hit me in layers. First disbelief, then betrayal, then something harder to name. That brittle, bone-deep exhaustion you get when people keep proving who they are, and you keep pretending not to see it. And I saw it now, clearer than ever. These were the same people who, when Megan was in hospice, couldn't bring soup, couldn't offer to take Milla for the night, couldn't sit in silence and just be there. But they never missed a Friday transfer. Not once. My dad even texted during Megan's last week. "Hey, don't forget the auto pay." Our mortgage is tight this month. They had become a bill I paid out of guilt. And the worst part? I let them. That night, with frosting still under my fingernails and the smell of unicorn cake lingering in the air, I opened my banking app, scrolled to the recurring payments. $650 every Friday. I stared at it for a long time. Then I tapped cancel. The app asked, "Are you sure?" I tapped yes. Then I added a note to myself in the payment history. Because she matters more. The next morning, the storm rolled in. Not literal clouds, though that would have fit the mood, but the kind of parental blowback you get when you stop dancing to their music. First, the casual voicemail. "Hey Nick, think there's a hiccup with the transfer. Probably a tech glitch. Just check when you can." Then, 3 hours later, my mom. "Sweetheart, your father's very stressed. You know how hard this mortgage has been. Did something happen with the bank?" Then came the full-throttle guilt cannon. My dad, voicemail number 3. "Nick, this isn't a game. You can't just cut off your parents. We have obligations. We trusted you." Trusted me. Like I'd embezzled their brunch fund instead of just stopping. I didn't respond. I took Milla to the park instead. We fed ducks. She wore a sparkly cape over her raincoat and declared herself the Queen of Pondville. For the first time in a while, I saw her laugh the way Megan used to, tilting her head back like joy was something she could sip. That night, Milla taped the card she'd made for Grandpa back onto the fridge. "So he can see it next time," she said. I didn't have the heart to tell her there wouldn't be a next time. Then, 2 days later, the email came. Subject line: "Household expenses you are responsible for." From my father. Attached, an Excel spreadsheet. It was a list, a literal list, of every bill they wanted me to continue covering. Mortgage, $2,200 per month. Utilities, $580. Country club dues, $400. Holiday hosting fund, $175. Health supplements, aka my mom's collagen gummies, $150. And at the bottom, bolded, total weekly support needed, $900. I laughed. Not a good laugh. The kind that makes your dog leave the room. They weren't just expecting help. They felt entitled to it. Like I was a failed financial plan instead of a grieving single dad trying to keep his daughter's heart from collapsing. I didn't reply to the email. I printed the spreadsheet. Then I framed Milla's card, the one she made for Grandpa. Crooked crayon hearts. Glitter glue letters that said, "I love you, even when you're busy." I hung it in our hallway, next to a photo of Megan. One frame for heartbreak, one for memory. Both proof that I'd spent too long mistaking proximity for love. Christmas hit different that year. It was Milla's first without Megan, and my only goal was to make it gentle. No big parties. No loud distractions. Just cinnamon rolls, matching pajamas, and one quiet promise. We'll find joy where we can. I decorated the tree with her after bedtime stories, one ornament at a time. The first we placed was Megan's favorite. A tiny glass star she bought at a craft fair because it looked like hope. Milla held it with both hands like it was made of wishes. We baked cookies on Christmas Eve. 3 went on the plate. One for Santa, one for Mommy, and one, because hope dies last, for Grandpa. I didn't correct her. I just swallowed hard and nodded. At 3:17 p.m. on Christmas Day, right when Milla was on the floor building a Lego unicorn ranch, there was a knock. Not a cheerful, "Here's your fruitcake" knock. A deliberate, 2 sharp raps knock that told me everything before I even opened the door. My parents. My mom, wearing a fur-lined coat and holding a gift bag like it weighed nothing. My dad, behind her, jaw tight and eyes scanning the house like he was taking inventory. We decided to stop by, my mom said, stepping forward like it was her God-given right. Because family shouldn't stay mad. My dad added, "Where's Milla?" like he was checking if the zoo exhibit was still open. Milla peeked around the corner, bunny in hand. For half a second, her face lit up. "Grandpa," she said. But then she saw my face, and the light dimmed. That girl was learning how to read a room, and this one was tense. My mom extended the gift bag. "Come here, sweetheart," she cooed, syrupy sweet. Milla took 2 small steps forward. No hug, no bounce, just cautious curiosity, like she was approaching a cat that hissed last time. "Nick," my dad said quietly, "we should talk." "No," I said. "We should have talked a month ago. Instead, you posted mimosas while she waited at the window." My mom bristled. It was brunch. We had commitments. She had a commitment too, I snapped. Her birthday. Her first without Megan. Dad scoffed. You're making everything about grief. No, I said, voice steady. You are. You're making everything about your discomfort with grief. Then Milla did something that cracked me open. She walked up holding Megan's ornament, the little glass star. I wanted to show Grandpa, she said softly. My dad glanced at it like it was a receipt. My mom reached for it like she was grabbing a prop. Let's take a picture, she chirped. Milla flinched. And that was it. I stepped between them, my voice calm but firm. We're not doing photos. We're not doing fake apologies. And we are definitely not doing surprise visits. My mom blinked, lips pursed. So what? You're punishing us. No, I said. I'm protecting her. They stared. I stared back. Milla stood behind me, still holding the star like it was the only thing that mattered. Then I opened the door wider, not to invite them in, to let them out. My mom's mouth opened and closed like she was rebooting mid-sentence. Nick, she said finally, voice tight. You're blowing this out of proportion. We brought gifts. And left memories, I said. Bad ones. My dad stepped forward like he was squaring up for a negotiation. You cut us off. You embarrassed us. You made this ugly. No, I said, still calm. I stopped funding you. That's not the same as cutting you off. That's just reality catching up. My mom scoffed, one of those dramatic soap opera sounds. We raised you, she snapped. You did, I said. And now I'm raising her alone. That's what you don't seem to understand. Then I crouched next to Milla, who was standing so still you'd think she was carved from porcelain. I touched her shoulder gently. Sweetheart, can you go get the star box? We should put Mommy's ornament back for now. She hesitated, eyes flicking to my mom, then nodded. It was Nora who'd taught her the signal. If Daddy asks you to do something during a grown-up fight, it means he needs a minute to be strong. She disappeared down the hall. I straightened and faced my parents again. You don't get to show up, pose for a few pictures, and pretend it fixes things, I said. Not today. Not anymore. My mom's voice rose, full drama now. This is ridiculous. You're poisoning her against us. No, I said. You did that. When you skipped her birthday. When you posted brunch pics while she was staring out the window. My dad's fists clenched. We didn't mean to hurt her. But you did, I said. Over and over. And I'm not letting it happen again just because it's Christmas and you remembered where we live. They didn't say anything. Milla came back with a little cardboard box. Inside was tissue paper and a few mismatched hooks. She handed me the glass star. Her hands were careful. Mine were shaking. She looked up at me and whispered, Can we hang it together? Yes, I said. We can. My mom watched the exchange, her face unreadable. Then she turned to leave with one final blow. You'll regret this, Nicholas. Families forgive. No, I said. Families show up. And I shut the door behind them. They didn't call the next day, or the day after. Not to check on Milla. Not to apologize. Not even a passive-aggressive email pretending to be concerned. But Friday? Oh, they remembered Friday. That morning, I woke up to 3 texts and 1 voicemail. The first from my dad. Transfer didn't come through. What's going on? The second. This is starting to affect our credit. The third. We've been more than patient. Then came the voicemail, which was less message and more monologue. Nick, this is unacceptable. You can't just shut things off without warning. We have bills. We have plans. You don't get to make us suffer because of some grudge. This is family, not a business deal. That last part, that was the kicker. Because that's what it always was to them, a deal. I pay, they perform. Barely. And the moment I stopped paying, performance canceled. Not one word about Milla. Not one word about Megan. Just we have bills. So I responded. One text. I won't fund a family my daughter isn't part of. Then I blocked them. Quietly. Completely. That weekend, Milla drew another picture. A castle this time. Crayon towers and stick figure people with crowns. She pointed to one of them and said, This one's you, and this one's me. And this little one is Mommy, but with wings. I nearly cried in the middle of breakfast. Later that afternoon, while she was napping with her stuffed bunny, who now wore a makeshift cape made from an old sock, I pulled down the shoebox full of old receipts, agreements, and co-signed account forms. I started unbinding myself, paper by paper. Removed my name from the joint credit card they used for emergencies, like wine club subscriptions. Closed the co-managed house projects account I'd been tricked into contributing to. Moved the remaining balance, money I'd put in, to my business savings. Called the bank to unlink my business line of credit from their mortgage auto pay. Told them, yes, I'm aware this may cause missed payments. I'm okay with that. By sundown, the tether was severed. Not out of revenge. Not out of anger. Out of protection. Mila needed a dad. Not a man drowning in someone else's debt while trying to keep unicorn candles lit. That night, I slept. Really slept. No nightmares. No grinding teeth. Just a deep, still kind of peace. The kind you feel after choosing yourself without apology. The silence lasted about a week. Then came the trickle. The subtle pressure campaign, dressed up as family concern. First, my aunt, who hadn't sent a birthday card to Mila in 3 years, texted me out of nowhere. Your mom is heartbroken. She says you've shut her out. It's Christmas, Nick. Then a cousin I barely speak to messaged me. We all make mistakes. Don't punish your whole family just because your parents forgot a party. But no one, and I mean no one, asked how Mila was doing. Not a single how's she holding up. Not a does she need anything. Just concern about their feelings. About their embarrassment. My mom finally broke the silence with a real gem. So when are you reinstating the payments? That was it. No, we're sorry. No, we miss her. Just, when does the money start again? I stared at that text in the restaurant office for 10 full minutes. Then I typed, I'm not your backup bank. And I blocked their new numbers. Later that week, Mila noticed her card, the one she made for Grandpa, was looking worn out. The corners curled, the marker fading a little. She frowned at it, then looked up at me and said, maybe it's time to take it down. I nodded. Maybe, I said. Or maybe we do something else. We drove to the craft store. Picked out a simple black frame. Nothing fancy, just something sturdy. Back home, we cleaned the card gently, like it was something sacred, and I framed it. Hung it right in the hallway. Mila watched me, wide-eyed. You're putting my card on the wall? Yeah, I said. Because it matters. She was quiet for a long second, then whispered, I'm gonna make more. And she did. That weekend, she turned the hallway into a gallery of love letters, drawings of me, her, mommy with wings, our restaurant, her bunny, Nora, the unicorn cake, and one new one, taped carefully next to the old card. A rainbow with the words, our family shows up. Know what it's needed. New Year's Eve came quiet and soft. No champagne, no crowds, just pajamas and pancakes. My restaurant was closed, but I unlocked it anyway. Set up a tiny table by the front window with paper snowflakes, marshmallows, and a pot of hot chocolate that bubbled like a good memory. Nora stopped by, of course. Marco and his wife came too, bringing their toddler who called Mila Queen Coco after her 3rd mug. Even Luis, my dishwasher, showed up with his teenage daughter who taught Mila how to fold napkins into tiny swans. It wasn't a party. It was something better. It was presents. At 11:59, we counted down with plastic cups of sparkling cider. Mila was wearing her favorite purple pajamas and a paper crown made from an old menu. When we hit midnight, she laughed. A real laugh. One that made her shoulders bounce and her curls shake. I looked around at the people in my bistro, my people, and felt something deep in my chest settle. The kind of stillness that only comes when you stop begging for love and start building a life around the ones who offer it freely. After everyone left, I swept the floors and turned out the lights. Mila tugged on my sleeve. Daddy, she whispered, eyes heavy with sleep. Are we still a family even if Grandpa doesn't come? I knelt down, brushed her hair behind her ear. We're a family, I said, because we love each other, because we show up. She looked toward the hallway where her drawings were framed and glowing under the nightlight. Can we put one up for Mommy too? She asked. My throat closed, but I nodded. Yeah, baby, we can. The next morning, we picked out a photo, one of Megan laughing, holding Mila on her hip, both of them wearing birthday crowns. We printed it, framed it, hung it next to Mila's first card. 2 frames, side by side. One for the love we lost, one for the love we chose to protect. And the chairs my parents would have sat in, they stayed empty, not out of anger, not as punishment, but as a quiet, unwavering truth. You don't belong in a home where you keep breaking hearts and expecting cake after. Not anymore.